Imagine driving down a country road in the American Midwest fields stretch out to the horizon. Barns stand tall against the sky, and you'd expect the hum of harvesters and tractors echoing in the distance. But instead, there is silence. Heavy, still kind of silence, not from disaster but from departure. In the past year, over 40,000 farms in the United States have closed their gates for good. Farmers, many from families who've worked the same land for generations, are walking away. Meanwhile, just north of the border, Canadian agriculture is booming. Fields in Saskatchewan and Alberta are not just alive with crops, but with new investment, fresh labor, and global trade deals. What is pushing American farmers off their land? And why is Canada, once considered a colder, secondary option, suddenly leading in agriculture? Let's explore this complex transformation. Texas, the Lone Star State, has always been an icon of American agriculture. Over 250,000 farms once dotted its landscape, but by the summer of 2025, more than 9,000 had vanished, and for many who remain, the question isn't how to thrive, it's how to survive. Fertilizer costs have more than doubled since 2023. Fuel for irrigation pumps has become prohibitively expensive. Water itself has grown scarce. Central and western Texas are in the grips of another multi-year drought, and despite emergency declarations, relief hasn't come. In some cases, landowners have taken extreme measures, burning unharvested wheat in their fields, not out of despair, but calculation. With no one to pick the crops, no factory to buy it, and no money to store it, some farmers choose to cut losses early. Then there's labor, or the lack of it. Nearly 40% of Texas's farm workforce is undocumented. Immigration crackdowns and ICE raids have scared entire crews away. Legal pathways like H-2A visas exist, but the costs have soared to $20,000 or more per season, pricing out smaller operations. To compound the challenge, a diplomatic dispute with Mexico over water rights from the Rio Grande has triggered retaliation. Mexico, once a key buyer of Texas produce, shifted its orders north to Canada, and while Canada signs new trade agreements, Texas farmers are stuck with flooded barns, canceled export deals, and mounting losses. The Texas Farm Bureau estimates over $1 billion in agricultural losses just in the first half of 2025. And this isn't just about farmers. Property taxes are the foundation of rural community budgets. As farms close and land changes hands often, the corporate buyers or foreign investment firms, local governments are left scrambling. Some counties have cut school terms short. Health clinics are shuttered. A few towns now operate without full-time fire departments. And for the youth who once dreamed of taking over the family land, the message is clear. Look elsewhere. Nebraska has long been a titan of grain exports, especially wheat. From the plains of York to the silos of North Platte, this state fed both the U.S. and much of the world. But today, it's facing a quiet collapse. By mid-2025, many grain elevators in Nebraska are running at partial capacity. The reason? Global buyers are turning away not because of crop quality, but because of uncertainty. Following recent NATO tensions, particularly with southern European nations, some grain importers, especially in Spain, Italy, and France, have delayed or canceled U.S. contracts. Many are now turning to Canadian suppliers whose political environment is viewed as more stable. Prices have dropped to just $5 per bushel. For most Nebraska farmers, that doesn't even cover operating costs. Without firm buyers, banks are tightening credit. Loans that once covered seed, fuel, and machinery now require locked-in export contracts. And without contracts, there is no planning. To make matters worse, a fungal outbreak target has been detected in 14 counties. While it doesn't impact wheat directly, its effect on soybeans and corn has thrown entire crop cycles into disarray. Pesticide costs have surged. Planting has been delayed. The 2025 growing season has become the least profitable in over a decade. In Canada, however, wheat exports are up 20% year over year. Saskatchewan and Alberta are not only expanding output, but signing multi-year deals with Asian and European buyers. Canada's interprovincial railways have been upgraded. Ports in Vancouver and Halifax are seeing increased activity, and producers that receive logistics subsidies and risk protections through national cooperatives. In rural Nebraska, the human impact is hard to miss. Schools are consolidating. Community hospitals are closing urgent care services. Local businesses from tractor dealers to seed suppliers are shutting their doors. It's not a single disaster. It's 1,000 small cuts, adding up to a state slowly bleeding out. Arizona is home to one of the most diverse agricultural ecosystems in the country: vegetables, eggs, citrus, and greenhouse produce. But by 2025, it leads the nation in farmland abandonment. It began with labor. During the 2024-25 winter growing season, ICE raids swept through farms in Yuma, Gila Bend, and Maricopa. Entire crews disappeared overnight. Even workers with proper documentation became afraid to return. As a result, vegetables went unpicked, eggs spoiled before reaching markets, and farmers, facing broken contracts and empty warehouses, simply gave up mid-season. Add to that Arizona's intensifying water crisis. Pinal and Cochise counties have been placed under severe water use restrictions. In some areas, drilling new wells is now prohibited. Allocations from the Colorado River have been slashed, and with irrigation gone, there's no farming. To make matters worse, several federal support packages were frozen in early 2025 due to budget negotiations in Congress. One large egg producer in Pinal County had to cull 6 million chickens following a mandatory avian flu protocol with no compensation. That farm is now bankrupt. What's most surprising is where some Arizona workers are going: Canada. Immigration programs like the Agri-Food Pilot and SIMP stream are attracting former farm workers with experience in produce and greenhouse operations. Once hesitant to endure Canadian winters, many now view the move as an upgrade where labor is respected and policy is predictable. The irony is painful. Immigrants who once sought opportunity in the American desert are now headed north to continue farming under the maple leaf. California's Central Valley has long symbolized abundance: grapes, peaches, oranges, and almonds. But that image is fading fast. Electricity costs for pumping water have risen 150% since 2023. Groundwater regulations now restrict new well drilling in much of the valley. At the same time, farmers are facing aggressive environmental regulations on methane, noise, and air quality. While well-intentioned, these changes demand reporting and infrastructure upgrades many small farms simply cannot afford. Fruit that once shipped to Asia is now sold locally at a loss. Some orchards have turned to agritourism, fruit-picking events, photo ops, local festivals. But these measures barely cover maintenance, let alone operating costs. Across the border, Canada is filling in the gaps. British Columbia's fruit exports have grown 30% year over year. Saskatchewan has developed large greenhouses for off-season production, and because electricity is subsidized in many rural provinces, Canadian farmers can pump, cool, and process crops at far lower costs. The generational divide is also growing. In California, many children of farmers are leaving the land for careers in tech and logistics, not because they don't value their heritage, but because farming no longer offers a viable future. If any state embodies the soul of American family, farming, it's Iowa, but that soul is under pressure. In early 2025, Iowa experienced one of the wettest springs in recent memory. On average, farmers had just 4 or 5 workable days per month in the fields. Delays cascaded through planning schedules, equipment use, and financial timelines. Meanwhile, tar spot fungal disease, once rare, spread rapidly. Corn and soybean prices remain low, held down by mega buyers like ADM and Cargill. Farmers have little leverage, and small operations are the first to suffer. Since January 2024, Iowa has lost over 6,500 farms. Bankruptcies have surged. Farm credit is increasingly out of reach unless backed by corporate contracts. And immigration policies have worsened the labor shortage, driving even legal seasonal workers away from the state. In response, some Iowa counties are experimenting with new models. Cooperatives now offer shared equipment and group insurance. Local mental health services, once taboo, are being introduced specifically for farm families. These efforts are a start, but the core issue remains. Farmers feel abandoned by a system they once trusted. As Iowa grapples with collapse, Canadian provinces are rising. Saskatchewan has secured more than $1.6 billion in grain exports in Q2 alone. American farms are being left behind not for lack of quality, but for lack of confidence from the market. This is more than an agricultural story. It's about identity, about what it means to grow food, pass down land, and build communities around shared purpose. 50,000 farms gone in under 2 years isn't just a number. It's a warning. Canada is doing more than farming. It's creating infrastructure, building trust with global buyers, and welcoming labor through policy, and it's reaping the benefits. Meanwhile, America, once the breadbasket of the world, is slowly watching its fields go quiet. But it doesn't have to end this way. Solutions exist. Community-supported agriculture, targeted subsidies, immigration reform, investment in logistics, and water. But those require vision and will. The question is, will the U.S. respond in time? Leave your thoughts in the comments. This video is here not to point fingers, but to spark conversation. Because behind every farm lost is a story worth telling and a future worth fighting for.